I told you. Call your beep.
Good.
And you're live.
Right, awesome.
Oh, not live. You're rolling.
All right, appreciate it. What's going on, guys? This is Kale over here at BattleRats. Today we're going to do a quick overview, just a simple loadout. We've got Jacob from Abel Co Suppressors here with us today. He invited us out here to come shoot, so running around with him. Big shout out to is it Sparks Media?
Sparky, yeah.
Sparky Media, yeah. Right? Yeah. Sparky Media. They're out here running around with us too. Yeah, man, if you want, you can come over here and just kind of give us a brief description.
Yeah, definitely. What's up, guys? Like Kale was saying, my name's Jacob. I work part-time for Abel Co, but I am my own person. So these guys invited me out, kind of go over some gear, like my thoughts of like what a prepared citizen should have as far as plate carrier, chest rig, belt, you know, helmet, what have you. So I'm gonna give you a brief overview of what I have, and then we're gonna go in depth of kind of like what I suggest and, you know, what I think most civilians should have. So starting over from my right, your left, just a basic little battle belt here, padded one. Got an extra mag. This is a grenade pouch, but I've got handcuffs in here, a flashbang, got multi-tool, tourniquet, water source. This back pouch here is full of extra medical stuff and a life straw. It's just it's a Emerson gear. It's nothing special, cheap. My chest rig, which is my pride and joy, is from Brave Castle. It's their BCR1. I love this chest rig. I'll go more in depth on it in a bit. But I've got a pouch here, a pouch that I made back in the day for admin stuff, you know, feudal things in there. The Pharaoh Roll 1 for my medical, tourniquet again. I've got up front 5 mags with the ability to put 2 more here and 2 more here, so a total of 9 if I needed to. Flashlight, never know when you need it. Knife. On the back here, I've got another pouch. This is a Shaw. I think it's their medium. I can't remember, but one of those. Just more medical, kind of redundancy. I'm a big redundancy type guy. Then I've got a Pharaoh medium GP pouch here that's got like a rangefinder. I'll go through all that stuff. But just again, more storage. I like storage. My helmet is just a basic ACH, kind of like the one that I had when I was in the Marines. Works great. I don't feel like you need to buy like a freaking $800 helmet when $150 options are available. Pretty much does the same thing. This one I've kind of upgraded. It's got Team Windy pads, the Team Windy suspension system. Works great, super comfortable. There's other pad companies out there. I like the way these fit and feel. A Wilcox single bolt shroud. I didn't feel like drilling into my helmet for the 3, so I just stuck with the 1. I've got the Wilcox, I believe it's the G24 attachment, and then good old J-arm from Noise Fighters, and then a standard PVS 14, but it's got RPO 3.0 glass in it. It's green phos. pretty much cheap. The back is pretty cool. It's kind of hard to tell because my scrim that I put on here, which I custom made out of an old one of my old blouses from when I was in. But this is a Faro Concepts PVS 31 battery pack that I use as my counterweight. And if you can see in there, it's this bag right here is full of lead BBs, and it's 14 ounces. Most of your PVS 14s are 12 ounces, so kind of gives you that good counterweight balance. Right. And then my do-it-all rifle here is just a 14.5. Yeah, it's nothing crazy. It's I've got the Abel Company Theorem on the end here. Vortex Venom 1-6, Geisley mount, ARMSCO laser, and then the good old fixed stock on the back there. It's kind of my thing. I prefer fixed stocks. I'm not a fan of, you know, rattle battle stuff. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty basic. Nothing too frilly or fancy. Just
I did real quick want to get this. So you've got this is the dual illuminated head, right?
Yes. So this is the standard. It's a Surefire head on an ARMSCO body, and then got to get a shout out to Kratos with the light mount here. Badass guys. So this one I can either do standard or IR or off on it, and the reason I have that on here is because I use this gun for pig hunting pretty much exclusively. So having the ability to do white light, right, but also IR with just one flashlight, because this laser is a great laser, but it doesn't have an illuminator, so that kind of acts as my illuminator if I need it.
Yeah, and I know that we had previously talked about how a lot of people are running the switch pads. Some people run the duals, some people just run one or the other. I know that you had kind of just touched on, you know, the more you add on here, the more stuff to fail. Yeah. So I know that that's kind of a big reason why you decide to steer away from the switches.
Yeah, I prefer buttons. I mean, having the switch is cool, and it's, you know, definitely more convenient. But my train of thought is, if you're using this gun in any type of like combat situation, right, or fighting situation, if you turn your light on, then it's go time. You've right, given up your position. Everybody knows where you are already. There's no reason to have the ability to just be like this, going on and off. And the biggest thing is, you know, NDs with lights. Oh, yeah. It happens all the time. Buttons, it'll still happen, but it's minimizes that. And also, that's just one less thing to fail. It's kind of hard for a button to fail, right, compared to leads that go to another button. Yeah. Those can get pulled out. They can get unplugged from the end cap itself. The button itself can fail.
Shit, I've seen the wires melt on handguards before.
Wires will melt. So I'm just not saying they're bad. Obviously, if you know you like them, run them. Yeah. Just I prefer buttons, and I have them on all my guns. Yeah. I don't have any type of leads on any of my guns. Even my lasers, they're all finger activated. Right. Just minimizing, you know, because I come from the infantry, so as simple as possible while still accomplishing what you need to accomplish. Right.
I know, like, so most people, you know, you see the traditional pack. I did want to show this because, especially with the LPVO setup, this is really, really cool. So who makes this? Let's see.
That's the ARMSCO laser.
Yeah.
So it's like 3IR.
As you can see, with your how low profile this is compared to a regular PEC. We don't have one over here. We have some on the guns over there. But just as far as this blocking on the LPVO, depending on what your mount height is, if you want, you can show them that 14.5 as well. You know, it's a lot more low profile. Like he said, it doesn't have the illuminator, so that is a trade-off. But I think if you're running an LPVO, the low profile laser like this is a great option. And you can see here, this is a setup with the dual lead switch. So I believe this is the override. Yeah, so this is the visible override. So you can run a light. That's what this is. I mean, you can see there. And then, like I said, with that, you know, you don't have to worry about it blocking your vision. So I think field of view is big time whenever it comes to running something like this. A lot of people don't really think about that until you get into those certain situations, or, you know, sometimes you're like, oh, well, that's just the way it is.
Because both these Geisley mounts are 1.5 tons. Yeah. They're standard height mounts, and so you do, like, depending on how your field of vision is, you can see the top of this, but it's not so much that it's gonna, you know, distract you or anything like that.
Yeah. And especially if you run around with it on a 1 power, lower power, you know, you're gonna see more of it, obviously. But yeah, just a lot of options. The biggest thing is, you know, do your research. If you're fortunate enough to have like-minded people around you that have different setups, I highly encourage you to get with them. Check out what they have before you go spend all the money on it. Because just because it's the most expensive generally does not mean that it's, you know, the best option. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways that you can, you know, save money in certain aspects. Like he's talking about with the belt, that's a great example. Gets the job done, and it's not, you know, a $200 belt. So that's super important. But the biggest thing is before you go start dumping money into something, I highly encourage you to find a way, if you can, to, you know, try and get out there, put your hands on it, get to check it out.
Yeah.
You know, before draining your bank account on something that you're going to inevitably end up, you know, having issues with. So.
And there's so much information out there. I mean, really, like, I grew up in the age of encyclopedias. You know, like, we didn't have the internet.
Right.
So you have this cool thing called Google, where you can type in words and press search and find tons of information.
Yeah.
So, like, don't be afraid to go do your own research. There's not saying there's anything wrong with asking somebody,
Right.
but, like, you got to do stuff your own. No, not everything's going to be handed to you. Not everyone's going to give you the right answer.
Right.
You need to figure out what's good for you. A couple things I did miss I want to give a shout out to. Retention is everything, right? So these are expensive pieces of equipment, and I personally don't want this thing to fall and break. So this is a great simple solution. This is from WETWRX. This is their Nod Lock. It's a cheap, simple solution to keep your expensive equipment on your head. So I'll even show you. If this happens to fall off, it's totally fine. It's locked in there. It's not going to fall on the ground. It's not going to get lost. It's going to stay right. It might smack you in the face, but it's going to.
A lot better than
exactly.
a new unit.
It's a lot better than having to buy a brand new unit.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I have from WETWRX as well is this badass little mesh bag right here. I've been using this for a good month or two. It's perfect sized. It fits all this gear in here with room to spare. So I normally have my boots, my clothing for hunting. I'll put my chest rig in there, my helmet in there. I have enough room if I wanted to put my belt in there, and it's breathable. So that way, if you do stink it up, it's not gonna like kill you when you open it. You're not gonna get hit in the face with a bunch of stank.
Yeah.
So check out WETWRX. Great stuff. That's reasonably priced. You're not gonna be paying out the ass like you do with some companies.
Another thing though is, like you said, you know, there is a lot of different options. Use case is huge. I know we talk about that quite a bit.
Context and use case of what you know what you think is gonna happen.
Yeah. If you're one of those people who has to carry a pistol everywhere, I'm not. I mean, I conceal carry everywhere I go. I try and make that a habit. So you can see here. I'll take this off real quick. That way you can get a good shot of it. But you know, this is just a different layout of a belt compared to what he might have. So as you can see, here, I'll just lay this right here.
Yeah.
You know, you got 2 pistol mags, 2 rifle mags, IFAK with a tourniquet, and then you got your Safariland holster, Glock 45 with the leg strap. Just different use cases. Would I use this if I was going to go hunt? Just go hunt pigs? Probably not. I'd probably try and do something like that.
Yeah.
But what it boils down to is, what are you most likely to use it for? And that might change on where you live. That might change on, you know, what your overall plan is. If anything ever happens and you are required to do this, and hopefully that doesn't ever happen.
Yeah.
But, you know, like we've talked about, even on, you know, rifle setups, basic things. You know where you're at. If you live out there in the middle of nowhere, I would highly advise you, you know, not to run around with just a low power optic and, you know, think that you're going to be right. If you live on 800 acres, a rifle like this would probably be perfect. You know, you got plenty of magnification, as well as the IR options and your white light. It's just a solid build. So I think if you live in the suburbs, stuff like that, you know, think about what you need to do. Think about the different situations that may arise. You know, I describe that as a perfect battle rifle, just because if I was going to set one up, I would set it up just like this. You know, this is the Primary Arms PLX. You've got the RMR from Trigicon. Good stuff.
So RCR.
Oh, the RCR. Sorry, I'm not super familiar with them. As well as, you know, the same setup. The only difference is your light isn't on here right now, but generally you have a white light right here, as well as the bipod. Just, you know, a solid setup, nothing insane. This is definitely a nice rifle, but there is budget ways of doing this. It doesn't have to be this expensive.
Yeah.
I highly encourage everybody to get out there. Like you said, you have the internet. You can look at reviews. You can check out all kinds of stuff.
There's tons of Instagram pages.
Absolutely.
And like, you know, my stuff is geared toward, that's like I said, context and where you live. So I don't live in a heavily populated area. I live out in the suburbs. It's a very small town. So I'm not going to be, if like worst case scenario, what I personally believe is the worst case scenario that what I would have to actually use this stuff in is like without rule of law. So, you know, mobs, people going, busting in people's homes, running around, breaking into businesses, or God forbid, cartel stuff, which is already happening.
Right.
You know, Tren de Agua is in San Antonio. They're in a bunch of other cities, and that's something that not really worries me, but I kind of keep an eye on, because cartels can move around easy. Like they're not easily identifiable. They're not like standard gangs like Bloods or Crips or anything like that have colors and everything. They just look like regular dudes. So for me, I have a plate carrier set up, but I just personally would prefer chest rig.
Right.
You know, I can carry a ton. I'm not burdened by armor. Some people may scoff at that. Well, what happens if you get shot? Oh well, you know, like it's a skill issue.
I think
So it really depends. You know, like if you live in an apartment complex, or if you live in a heavily populated area, like in the city or in a small town, but that's pretty dense, I would probably go more towards a plate carrier personally.
Right.
Now, like we've talked about it before, like CQB for civilians it's a good to know, but you shouldn't be wanting to do it. First of all, you don't have the logistics for it. If one of your guys, if you got a team of 4 to 6 guys and one of them gets shot, like what are you gonna do? You know, like you have self-aid and buddy aid, that's it.
Yeah.
It's not like for police department or military where you have the ability to pull them out, take them to a hospital, take them to the rear.
Yeah.
You know, if you're thinking about these scenarios, they're basically like, not like end of the world, but bad situations where you're not going to have the capability to take someone to the hospital. But if you do, they're going to ask questions. Well, how'd you get shot? What were you doing? You know, so CQB is something that you should know, but not something you should focus on.
Right.
It's much more important to focus on your weapons handling, weapons manipulation.
Yes.
And there's some screenshots I took of some pages I want to read that I was looking at yesterday that really kind of hit home to what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
But you know, as civilians, how this country was founded, it wasn't just a mobilized army. You know, it was regular dudes, farmers, young kids, hunters, guys that knew their weapons, knew how to handle them, knew how to shoot them. And that's what our Second Amendment reads as a well-regulated militia. And you can, you know, go in the weeds of Second Amendment and what it means and all that.
It's for hunting, right?
Yeah, right. It's for fun. You know, but by all means, have fun with it, but know the purpose behind it.
Right.
The Second Amendment is for us as citizens to have the capability to overthrow our government or to protect ourselves from our government if necessary. Yeah, it's for invasion. Yeah, it's for, you know, defending yourself. But the main purpose behind it was to stop tyranny if we needed to do it.
Right.
So if you're going to be a well-regulated militia, which is kind of what I'm going to get to when I read those screenshots, you need to know how to handle your weapon. You need to know how to shoot it from further than 100 yards. Yeah. You need to know how to patrol. You need to know formations. You know, don't skyline yourself. Don't silhouette yourself against a backdrop. Face paint, you know, make sure you're having the proper camo. That's not as necessary, but you should know.
Right.
Something simple as like scrim, you know, like people want to argue about, well, I don't put scrim because it looks stupid. Well, it's not supposed to look cool.
Right.
It serves a purpose. You know, the human brain, just like animals, we are wired to pick out the human silhouette, the human face. So that's why we paint our face. Right. That's why we wear camouflage to break up our outline. That's why you put scrim on your helmet to break up those angles and to kind of help conceal yourself.
Right.
I mean, I'll read those quotes right now. Let me pull those up real quick. These are from just 2 random Instagram accounts that I ran across. This one's kind of long, but it's from Flying Squirrel 82. And he says, hot take, comes kind of what I was saying. The Second Amendment is designed for the people to bear arms and establish well-regulated militias. Keywords, well-regulated militia. If your only priority for one is bearing arms, you're going to have a shit militia. It's very true. People need to train and have highly experienced and actively high-performing instructors to learn from. You know, kind of iron sharpens iron type of thing. Not overly sarcastic nerds that only give a fuck about personality or production value, or washed-up vets, kind of me, I guess, that can't perform now. I can shoot, though, so I guess that. It starts with shooting. If the arms portion of a profession of arms isn't your highest priority, you're wrong. And that means building flawless fundamentals and establishing a baseline of performance that is ruthlessly effective. So manual of arms, being accurate, fast. I'd rather introduce 100 driven, disciplined, and motivated people to the 2A community who will take it seriously than 10,000 retards that want to own a gun and talk about Grantham videos. That is definitely true.
Yeah.
This next one is from Lucas. Now, I'm not a big fan of his. I don't dislike the guy. There's a lot of stuff he does where I don't agree with, but overall he's a good dude. He makes good products that are attainable and gives good information. He'd outshoot me no matter how much I train. The dude can shoot. But he says, the Second Amendment is about preventing government overreach and protecting the formation and maintenance of militias, which leads to possessing certain equipment and processes to support said militias. It's not just about owning guns or gear. We should be able to do that with or without the Second Amendment. If we want to argue the Second Amendment for owning certain items, let's discuss how to own tanks, attack helicopters, and demolitions, and what discipline is needed to maintain and use them effectively. The discussion needs to level up. We know the Second Amendment isn't about hunting, but it's also not just about guns either. So those two posts kind of hit, I read them and I was like, that's spot on to what I think.
Right.
Like, by all means, have fun shooting. Don't make it all about like military. Like when I was in the military, I got tired of shooting. Like I hated it.
Right.
So have fun, but know the purpose behind it. For one, it's to defend yourself, the baseline, right? For two, it's to defend your community, which you should be getting to know your neighbors. You should have a church you go to know that you know from. Three, defending your state and or country from whether it's outside threats like being invaded, God forbid, which we got oceans to protect us, thankfully, so that kind of minimizes that threat. Or people coming across the border as far as like cartels. Even the people coming across the border, they're from South Africa, they're from the Middle East, they're from Asia, and most of these guys are military age males, and that's not a good thing. People that are seeking asylum are generally not military age males. Yeah. So
something that I did want to touch on is, I think, like you said, we're just talking use case. I think depending on where you live, like for me, I'm kind of like in between. Yeah. Andreas, he kind of lives in a little bit more of a populated area, so his loadout probably looks different than mine. But I think, like for me, I carry a plate carrier that might be subject to change now that we live a little bit farther out. Yeah. But for me, my biggest thing is like the way that yours is set up is a little similar. Yours is definitely way more well put together than mine. But with the admin pouch, I know you've got some like calories in there. I know you've got some other stuff. Yeah. On top of the tourniquet, IFAK, all that stuff. You don't think it matters, and let's say, like you're talking about, not just in the hey, like we're being invaded sense, but let's say that you're somewhere and something horrible happens, whether it's gun related or not, and you do or don't have this in your pocket. Think about how big of a difference that makes. And if it's me, I the last thing that I want to do is not be able to render aid to anybody because of something like this. Yeah. And that's just a small part of it. I think that's much more smaller picture stuff. But the biggest thing is, like you were talking about, weapon systems. If you become efficient with any weapon system, for the most part, you're going to be fine. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that is super, super underrated. I can tell you from whenever me and him go shoot quite a bit. You get out there and you got guys with 1911s, 45s, and they get out there and
blasting away.
Yeah, just trash dumping, and that's fine. If that's what you want to do. But I think if you're gonna say that you understand the Second Amendment and you want to be a gun owner, I think that you should maybe hold yourself a little bit more accountable, and get out there and train yourself. I think you start with yourself, then you worry about other stuff. You know what I mean? But you want to be rock solid for you and your family if anything ever happens. The last thing that you want is to not be effective and efficient with whatever your firearm system is, because that's a one and done deal. For the most part. You might go through your whole life and never have to use it. The one time that you have to use it, and your adrenaline dumps and you fuck up, that's it. Unfortunately, we see that all over, in all world conflicts, even in stuff over here, not just war. But whenever it boils down to it, as soon as firearms get involved, if you're pulling yours, you need to know what you're going to do, and you need to know how to do it properly and effectively. Because at the end of the day, like I said, that's a one and done deal. There's no coming back. Yep. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
There's no movie scene. There's no sad music. There's nothing. Like, you're just fucking dead. Yeah. So
you can't restart.
Yeah, you can't restart. This isn't COD.
There's no rebirth.
No respawn.
No plating up.
There's no respawn. You can't mess with your guns anymore. You're just gone.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are, especially in the gun community, are obsessed with a lot of different stuff. Some people are, like you said, all the Grand Anthem stuff. That's cool. You know what I mean? That's dope. If you want to take advice from that guy on all kinds of different stuff, that's awesome. But I think the best way for you or me or anybody who's watching this to get out there and figure out what you're gonna like and how you're gonna perform with it is to go do it.
You actually got to use it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you got to go get all this stuff. If you don't think you need it, don't do it. But if you're you think that you want to have it, like just as something like a rainy day deal, don't buy it and throw it in your closet. Don't buy it and leave it at your house, because I'm sorry, but 9 times out of 10 you're probably not going to use it at your house.
Yeah.
I think realistically, if we're talking other than horrible scenarios where there's an invasion or something like that, the biggest thing is you're out and about and something happens and you're either stuck there, and like me and you have talked about it, you got kids, I know you're getting out of there, but sometimes if you can't leave, or if there's something going on where you have no other choice, which hopefully that never happens, but you know, you want to be effective with what you're doing, because if not, then all this is a waste.
Yeah.
None of this matters. You're just a free loot job for somebody.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's what it boils down to.
That's why, like you said, you know, the experience stuff comes into play.
Yeah.
These are bugging me.
You're good.
You know, like I know we're basically redoing a video because some sounds. So like I had given my background in the other video, but I'm really a nobody. I'm just a father of 4. When I was younger, I was in the Marines as an infantryman, and I went to Iraq twice. And then after that, that was 2006, 2010 when I was in. After that, I was a cop out here in Texas for a little over 6 years, and did like small town agencies, so nothing really huge. But I did SWAT, I did narcotics stuff, I did interdiction, street crimes. Had a lot of fun doing it, and so I have some experience as far as like wearing gear, you know, use cases, etc.
Yeah.
And I mean, the biggest thing, I mean, everybody sees it with cops, like nobody knows how to run their gun.
Right.
For the most part.
That's a big issue.
And that's a big issue because, you know, being a cop isn't all about running your gun. It's kind of concerning nowadays as I see a lot of young kids that are wanting to be cops that are heavily into firearms, which is fine. But being a cop is like 99%. You're a relationship counselor. You're a mediator. You're telling Grandma Joe, like, hey, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's okay if your neighbor's a little loud. It's the boring, monotonous nonsense, you know? Like, you're having to go into a house where the mom just beat the shit out of, or the dad just beat the shit out of the mom, or the mom beat the shit out of the dad. That does happen.
It's 2024.
And, yeah,
you never
equal
know.
rights, right?
Yeah.
And lefts.
You gotta, equal rights and lefts. And you have to console, like, young kids, or, you know, tell a husband, like, hey, you might have to leave the house for the night, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And so shooting is like 1% of that.
Right.
But you need to be, just like as a regular civilian, you need to be good to go with your guns. And that means malfunctions, that means loading, having it pointed in a safe direction, you know, knowing what's around you and having that awareness to not just get sucked in, you know, to a target or what's happening.
Absolutely.
And like you said, you know, like if I'm out with my kids, which 99.99% of the time I am, I'm fucking leaving.
Yeah.
I'm not going to find nobody. I'm leaving. So.
And I think that's a realistic.
Yeah, and
whether
realistically,
you got kids or not.
Yeah, whether you have kids or not. I mean, by all means, if you are within a close proximity to something happening, go and help as best you can. If that means taking out a threat, do it. But be aware that if you don't send the proper communication to dispatch, you are more than likely to get shot, and it's happened multiple times.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to tell people, like, don't be a hero, be a good witness.
Right.
You know, if I'm not saying be a coward and like run away, don't help people. If you have the opportunity and you are skillful enough to take someone out, by all means, go freaking slap them.
Yeah.
But know the risks of that as far as law enforcement, because a lot of these guys, and I can speak from experience, aren't trained properly and are going in with a huge adrenaline dump because they've never even been in a situation like that before, or have never had to deal with a high stress situation before. And not to say that all cops are going to do this, but the reality is that cops don't get enough training just off the bat, and most cops either are too lazy or don't want to spend the money to get their own training. I spent tons of my own money and was very proactive to go out and get training, like reading body language, taking firearms stuff, DWI stuff, pursuit stuff. Like, I wanted to expand my knowledge and be the best cop at my department no matter what, and generally I was, and that's because I took time to train. Your training just didn't stop after the academy and after FTO. You continued your education as best as you could for the whole, like, pretty much your entire career.
Right.
So as a civilian, you should be wanting to do the same thing.
Yeah.
You should want to be taking first aid classes. You should want to be taking shooting classes. You should want to be taking land nav, you know, basic infantry type stuff. And you can get the Marine Corps Infantry handbook online. You can download it for free. The Ranger handbook's a good starting place as well. And that's what kind of draws me to, like, the civilian side, is getting people past this weird, like, rut that people are in for, like, CQB this, CQB that, because it looks sexy for Instagram and it looks cool, and you can buy all the high price gear and look fancy and cool.
Right.
You know, that's just not it, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's like I talk about. It's one of those things where, you know, I'm sure that you've experienced it. I haven't on firsthand, but you know, from talking to people, and even if you look on you know, the internet, there's a lot of times where you see things like, oh, like you're talking about, where these Giga Chads run into a room and they're doing CQB, and then you see it happen in real time in real life, in
That's
other
chaos.
conflicts. Yeah. You know, if some dude's sitting in the corner and he folds your homie, then what's the, you know, at that point, unfortunately, there's no other way that you can drill it into some people's head that it's not what they think it is until it's too late.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know, for us, the biggest thing is to explain to people, you know, like perfect example, if you go buy a firearm, don't go set it in your closet and then think, oh, well, you know,
I'll just point and shoot.
Yeah, if it ever happens, I'll be ready. No, you won't. No, you won't. And that's just the reality of it. That's with any situation.
Yeah.
Outside of gun stuff, just in general. If you don't practice, you're gonna suck, and if you suck, bad things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I think that the biggest thing is getting out there and training as much as you can. Obviously, you know, right now with financial stuff, I understand everybody's kind of a little strapped.
Yeah.
But if you make it a priority, you'll find a way to do it.
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean going out and buying something like this all at once. That doesn't mean you have to have all this. You know,
you can buy stuff incrementally.
Absolutely.
You can. There's
What's
like this is an expensive receiver set. You don't need to buy something like that.
What's
you know?
that? The financing deal?
Huh.
What's that? What's that?
Sezzle.
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 I have
Shout out Sezzle.
Shout out to Sezzle, because I have used it quite often. It's a great option. You know, people may make fun of you for it, but guess what? I still have it. So like, Sezzle is an interest-free payment system where you do a down payment and then 4 equal payments over 2 weeks. So it allows you to kind of spread things out. You don't take the hurt right off the top.
Yeah.
And I mean, some people may just be able to buy a $600 optic just like that and not think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, good for them. I'm happy they have the finances for that.
Yeah.
Don't let people embarrass you or talk down to you because you have to use a payment plan.
He's not on their payroll, by the way.
I'm not
This
either.
is
yeah.
not. This
I
is
wish
not,
I was. I might have better stuff.
This is not like that. Another thing, though, and I do think that this is important that a lot of people, me and him, you know, I just got into the running gun deals. He's been doing them for a while. Shout out Mystery Ops. You know, you get out there and you see some people with, you know, some really crazy setups. It's crazy, you know, very expensive setups. And then you see people come out there with super, I don't know what the word is.
Low budget.
Low budget, but to the point to where it's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's important to look at reviews and do some research because this might be $200, but guess what? It's $200 that it's a waste. You can't. There has to be a standard to what you're buying. Like Vortex, I think is a great option. Primary Arms makes great LPVOs.
Primary Arms is great. I love their stuff.
And they make a bunch of different levels to it, so it's not like, oh, you have to spend $1,000 to get a nice optic. They're solid. There's a lot of different options out there, so I encourage you, if you're gonna get into it, you know, take your time, do your due diligence, and take your time to research it before you spend your money.
Research is definitely key with this stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't just listen to one, you know, every Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes out and says, well, this is bad. Look up reviews on it, you know, like
on the actual product,
on that product itself. Because some people have probably talked crap about this Vortex Venom. I mean, it's a cheap optic. It's like 400 something bucks maybe. Yeah. But guess what? It's a 1-to-6. It zeros. It holds 0.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like it. It works great for me.
Yeah.
So don't let someone's opinion sway you from wanting to buy something that you can afford.
Yeah.
You know, yes, there's, like Kale's saying, there's definitely stuff you shouldn't be buying. You know, like, if you buy a sight mark, I'm gonna make fun of you. I'm gonna tell you go throw that shit in the trash.
Sezzle or not.
You know, Sezzle or not. Which, I mean, sight mark, you shouldn't have to. But
if you're Sezzling sight mark,
we got other stuff to talk about.
Comment. I mean, comment and let us know. We will start doing a GoFundMe for you.
So there's definitely budget things to do. Like going back to the receiver set, you know, like if you can only afford a PSA, which this is a Black Bore Rifles. This is made here in, close to where I live. It's a nice billet receiver. And shout out to Black Bore. He's a one-man show, so he gets great stuff done. He doesn't do the machining, but great dude.
This gun is super smooth. I know we've all shot it quite a bit, especially today.
It runs great. Yeah, and it's a Sons of Liberty barrel. Yeah, it's a Sons of Liberty gas system.
Abel Co Suppressor.
This is the Abel Co Theorem, which is a titanium 30 cal, and then I've got our vented end cap on the end. Which we're going to be doing
it's unloaded, people.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a separate video on the Abel cans so you guys can get a full view of them.
Yeah.
Great people, great company. But if you can't afford it, there's budget stuff like PSA. People talk shit about PSA all the time. I don't know why. I mean, I get why, but I don't understand why you would sway someone from getting it if that's all they can legitimately afford. I would rather have someone buy an $200 upper from PSA. Yeah. And an $80 lower and be able to actually help me if I needed it, than to them just be standing there and being like...
One thing I do want to say, do not buy Olights.
Yeah,
don't
buy all
fucking
lights.
do it. If it's a handheld light, maybe.
I wouldn't even do that, honestly.
If you want to, you know what I mean.
I
But
would say
do not put an O light
Yeah.
on your weapon system.
I
please.
will take your gun away.
They will blow up in your face. Streamlight. If it's
Streamlight's
that bad,
the bare minimum.
get a streamlight. Streamlights aren't that bad.
I mean, this is a streamlight that I use for patrol.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's bright.
How much have you had to drink tonight?
Right. I mean, I've used it to knock on windows, on doors. It's a great little handheld light. It's rechargeable.
Yeah.
I'd say Streamlight is the bare minimum for lights.
Absolutely.
Optics,
Oh man,
like you
that
said,
thing's seen some arrests, huh?
it's seen a lot of action.
I like the.
Nice.
They were asleep in the car.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall, solid setup. Like I said, you know, take your time, do your research. And if there's gonna be, no matter how much research you do, there's gonna be certain things that you buy thinking that you're gonna love them,
Yeah.
and you're gonna hate them,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna, you know, get rid of them, and that is what it is. But the biggest thing is put your money into things that matter. I think the biggest thing would be if once you buy your firearm, if you can't, there's no way you can't find a course or a range around you that will teach you. You
Yeah.
have no idea. Once you do that, get out there and shoot. Before you go spend money on all this stuff and getting it Cerakoted and all
Yeah.
that crap, ammo. Shoot as much as you can.
AAC is a great budget ammo. I shoot their 77 and OTMs. I've never personally had any issues with it. I will say I don't shoot as much as other people do that may have had issues, but in the grand scheme of things, you're gonna have issues with ammo. That's just gonna happen. No matter who makes it, you're gonna get failure feeds, failure fires. You're gonna have bad powder loads. It's just how it is. So why not budget it and get a good ammo?
Right.
You know, AAC is good stuff.
Their 77 grain OTMs are great.
That's
We're
what
probably
running that guy.
Yeah.
we're probably 3,000 to 4,000 rounds into AAC
Yeah.
ammo, and
Yeah,
they've been
that's
running
what they-
great.
Solid.
I have some cool stuff from them too. I loaded. These are the shell shocks.
Oh shit. Okay.
There's a 77 grain.
Get that up in there so you can see that.
So it's an OTM, but it's a dual casing, so it's super lightweight.
Yeah.
Great ammo. I mean, and this is AAC. This is a budget ammo.
That stuff ejects cool to the touch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not
nice.
as hot. It's quieter.
That way, when your friend's shooting, you can catch the
Yeah.
shells. But yeah, like I said, you know, overall, take time to train, take time to educate yourself. I think that dry firing is huge. At least if you're going to consider concealed carry. Biggest thing, guys, overall at the end of the day, civilian preparedness is our overall main goal. There's going to be more videos. We're going to have more people on, I'm sure. We're going to have him back on. We're going to be shooting a lot more. So, you know, the biggest thing is take your time to train. Don't limit yourself with your equipment to the best that you can. Obviously, don't put yourself in a financial spot. But, you know, I encourage you to take it serious. If you're going to get into this and, you know, you're going to try and go at it with that mindset, I think that's awesome. Do it right. Don't do it in a messed up, fucked up way that looks cool on Instagram or anything like that. Secondly, dry firing is huge. Like I was saying before, if you're going to conceal carry, I strongly encourage you to do that. Even on transitions, swapping mags, you can do that on rifles, all kinds of stuff. Make sure that it's clear and that it's good.
That's stuff that's free. You can do at home.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's gonna build your skill. Like just real quick in boot camp, when we go to the range, like we would literally spend all day on circles, just dry firing all day.
Yeah.
We wouldn't do anything else. So a lot of dry firing is what's gonna get you that consistent skill level when it comes to live fire.
Yeah, especially in the case where it's a concealed carry situation and you have to draw. It's never a good thing. The last thing you want to do is fumble for mags or catch your shirt or anything like that. Yeah, so, you know, that's the biggest thing. Like I said, I'm sure we'll be back soon with some more stuff. We got some more content coming, hopefully pretty soon. So yeah, I just want to say thanks for coming out and having us out here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, giving us the rundown on the gear, man. And like I said, you know, dope patch, by the way. You gotta make sure you get that.
That's that good old Shot Concepts.
That
That's
guy's
their
crazy.
fundraiser.
Anyways,
Shout out
You
to
just
Shop.
got that, huh?
Yeah, I just got it the other day.
clean, straight off the press. But yeah, guys, get out there, train, do the right thing, be a good human being, don't be a scumbag. Yeah, that's it, guys. We'll see y'all next time, man.
Yeah, she's barely touching. Left side, that's your right side. Keep going left, keep Right there. Come down a little bit. You got lucky.